All right. So the time right now is 6:32 p.m. And I'll go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission on April 11th, 2023. Currently, the commissioners present are me, Erica, and Kristen. And Mitch, just make sure you note what time Fletcher gets here.
Right.
This meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued on the next scheduled meeting date. Also, as you heard, this meeting is being recorded, and if anyone else is recording the meeting, you are required to let me know now or when you begin recording. All right, not hearing any. So first on our agenda, we have approval of meeting minutes from March 28th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 20, what'd you say? Sorry,
March 28th.
28th, 2023.
I'll second that, although I will just preface that I'm still reading it, so no
Okay.
rush on the comments.
All right, so we have a motion to accept them, and then any discussion on the minutes. Give you a second to make sure you look through the whole thing.
I didn't see anything.
I don't see anything either. It looks good to me.
Okay, then we can do a roll call vote on the motion to approve the minutes. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, I'm also an aye, so that motion passes and we will approve the minutes from March 28th. Okay, so we have next on our agenda schedule of public meetings and hearings. We have a public meeting followed by a public hearing. So first is public meeting request for determination of applicability, vegetation clearing off of Coleraine Street, map R26 lot 4. And this was continued from the March 28th. March 28th meeting. And on our agenda, just as a reminder, it says the proposed project consists of the installation of a wildlife exclusion barrier and the clearing of fallow areas that have grown in since the land fell into disuse in 2011. There will also be a simple timber frame farm stand structure and lawn game area. So I think I saw Cody. Yes.
Yeah, I am currently working on securing funding for an environmental planner. And I am also working on having a technical assistance session with NRCS. I'm hoping that we can revisit this at the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, great. So let me just double check my calendar. So yeah, the next meeting would be on the 25th.
Alrighty.
So that works for you?
Yep.
Okay. There isn't really like a set procedure for continuing RDAs, but does someone want to make a motion to continue it until then?
I'll motion to continue that hearing to the next meeting for an RDA for veg clearing off Coleraine Street, map R26 lot 4.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on that? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on continuing that RDA till April 25th. So Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, I am also an aye. So
Thank you,
we'll
folks.
see you at the next meeting. Thanks. Thanks for the update. Okay, well, that was pretty quick. So now we have a public hearing. Request for determination of applicability / local notice of intent. Development of a single axis tracking solar PV array and associated equipment at 1245 Bernardston Road, map R11, lot 97. I'll just read what's on our agenda as an introduction here. The proposed development includes the installation of an approximately 1.95 megawatt DC solar PV array and associated BESS. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll find out. A gravel access road will be constructed from Village Green and will be multi-use, improving the existing gravel access road, providing the owner access to the centrally located buildings. The gravel access road will also allow access to the electrical equipment and battery storage pad areas for maintenance. Site grading is limited to the proposed gravel access road, equipment pad, and stormwater management features. A roadside swale is proposed along the proposed gravel access road, discharging to a stormwater detention basin at the western downhill section of the gravel access road. And do we have someone who would like to present this project?
Yes, hi everyone. Rob Bukowski with Weston Sampson here representing Blue Wave. My colleague Devin Herrick is on as well. And we've got Aaron, Danielle, and Matt all with Blue Wave. So that was a really good summary. I probably don't have too much more to add, but I would like to share my screen if that's okay, just to go over some of the highlights.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could share the plans and show us kind of how it would be on the site and everything.
All right. Can you see? I can't.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, great. So yeah, as you mentioned, 1.95 megawatt DC solar array. These are single axis trackers, so they're oriented north-south, and they will basically tilt to follow the sun as the position changes through the day. Access will be off Village Green, as shown here. There's an existing gate here. What we tried to do is match up with some of the existing roadway or cart paths that are actually on the site that lead up to the back portion of the site. So the roadway will come along here. The reason for the sweep is just to accommodate some of the delivery vehicles that'll be required to access the site. The BESS, as you had mentioned, the acronym is Battery Energy Storage System. So through the Massachusetts SMART program, the incentive program, any project that's 1 megawatt or over needs to have associated battery storage just to get the full incentive, is my understanding. There's a couple existing buildings that are here back, sort of up on the hill. So the road would basically follow the existing road, come up. Equipment storage is here. We did have a pre-application meeting with the city, and the fire chief was there. So we got input from different departments, and one of the requests was to show snow storage. So we've got that here. This area can also be used for emergency vehicle turnaround. And then at the top of the access road, this is where we get into the array area. So there's we've got wetland areas basically on either side. So we're sort of up on the hill, and then the array will follow the hill down towards the southwest. There's an intermittent stream and in some areas associated BVW on both the western side and the eastern side. We're not proposing any direct impacts to wetlands. So stormwater management is basically collected from both sides of the array and then diverted down to the southern basin. The discharge from the basin is within the 200-foot riverfront area from intermittent streams. Both of these streams are intermittent, but it is outside the 100-foot BVW buffer. So the trees will be cleared once that's done. There's, as you mentioned in the summary, there's no proposed grading within the site itself. The existing slopes are flat enough to accommodate the single axis trackers. So really the grading will be limited to the stormwater and the access road. This will be seeded and vegetated. This basin during construction will be used as a sediment trap, and there'll be perimeter erosion sedimentation controls set up at the, really at the first stage of construction. And that also includes a construction exit here to prevent tracking from any sediment back out onto Village Green and other roads. There is another basin. There's a roadside swale that comes down on the southern side here. And then that will discharge into this proposed basin down at the base of the access road near the entrance to the site.
And one other thing from our ordinance is the 25-foot no disturb zone
Yep.
around wetlands. And I believe this is entirely outside of that. Is that correct?
It is. That's correct. Yep, it is.
Also, I'll just point out for the other conservation commissioners, if you didn't notice, this abuts conservation land to the north, north
Yeah,
and
this
east.
is right. This parcel up here.
Griswold GTD conservation land. Do any of the commissioners have any questions to start off with here?
Thank you for that introduction. That was really helpful. I had a question about the wetland crossing, I guess, or is that a crossing, or does it not cross?
No, it doesn't cross. Are
Okay.
you talking about down here or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or anywhere, I guess, where you're trying to utilize the existing woods road for site access?
Yeah, so the Woods Road is, you can I can zoom in here, but you can see the dash lines here.
Yeah,
So this comes up from there's a driving range down in this area. So what we tried to do was tie into that as much as we could. So we end up coming in, there is an existing gate off of Village Green here, but then we come in here and wrap around and then connect with that existing Woods Road here. But there's no wetlands crossing or direct wetland disturbance. There is, when you come onto Village Green, there are some concrete bollards that are here. And there's, looks like maybe a drainage feature associated with the road that's there. But that's an existing roadway. So we're not planning on any direct impacts or any wetland crossing.
thank you. So then under the Wetlands Protection Act, this is buffer zone only, and then under the ordinance, it's just the intermittent stream riverfront only.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
I guess one question I have, if you could maybe talk a little about, I know there was like a stormwater report that was submitted, and I know this site seems to be mostly forested, I guess, and I know you looked at the soils, and I don't know if you could just talk a little bit about how the stormwater would function
Sure.
after compared to currently.
Yeah, so during construction, we'd have the perimeter erosion and sedimentation control that would prevent any sedimentation from getting beyond the limit of work. And then we would also construct these swales and this basin. And the basin would be used prior to installation of the outlet. We would use this as a sediment trap so that, after the trees are cleared and the stumps are removed, that would prevent, any of that offsite sedimentation. So everything would go into the trap. And then once the racking is installed and the wiring and everything's connected to the equipment pad and the battery storage, the site would be stabilized permanently with seed. And then once that's accomplished, these swales would be cleaned out and the base would be cleaned out of any sediment. And then those would be seeded as well for permanent stabilization.
And when you say seeded, that's just like grass seed?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be converted from basically a forest to a meadow type. I mean, the grass will probably get up to, say, about 2 feet long. They will maintain it. What they don't want to have is shading on any of the solar panels. So it'll probably be mowed, once or twice a year. But it'll be converted basically to a meadow. So not to get too technical, but from a stormwater standpoint, the curve number, which is basically the amount of water that runs off of the surface rather than infiltrates down, is pretty similar for wooded versus a meadow condition. But we do have the stormwater management, and I don't know if you read the report in detail, but as we run through the standards, we meet the requirements in basically making sure that the post-construction runoff rate is equal to or less than the existing runoff rate.
I guess just one clarification and question about this being a meadow. Is there any like native meadow grasses or flowers or anything like that that's going to be planted, or is it just like lawn grass?
It's not like lawn grass. We actually specified I can go in to see this is the actual
There we go.
seed mix. So if that so there are some, there's a daisy seed. Most of these are grasses. There's some clover in here. Certainly there's the ryegrass, which is a grass, but this is the bluegrass is a grass, but there are some other different vegetation mix, like I said, clover, and there's some daisy in here. It's pretty minimal. It's mostly grass, but the idea really is to get something that sets and establishes as quick as possible, because what we want to do is make sure that we've got a stabilized site to try to minimize the amount of erosion.
Rob, when are you thinking about doing construction, or when's the applicant thinking about doing construction?
I don't know if Aaron or Danielle, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take it. The idea would be most likely next year sometime, but it'll depend on how the permitting goes.
Kristen, were you asking like what time of year? Like what
Yeah,
season?
I was just thinking, I mean, it doesn't look like a super topographic site, but I was just thinking, if you had to do something like a wood chipping for a temporary stabilization, that will make establishing some of the vegetative species more difficult. And if you would do it in winter, if you would want to put down a winter rye. And so I was just kind of angling at a veg mix that would maybe be more compatible to what your construction sequence looks like.
Yeah, I think we would accommodate that if it's in our interest to make sure that there's as little erosion as possible. So if for some reason we have to cut in the winter, which I could think of some reasons, if the northern long-eared bat cutting time frame limits things, so we might have to cut before the end of April as an example, we would seed with something that was appropriate.
And we do have alternatives in the plans for off-season stabilization. I mean, we've used things like straw mulch with tackifier, things like that, just to try to get the site to stabilize even in times of year when it's more difficult to grow permanent vegetation in the form of grass.
Can you go back to the map of the site?
Yeah. This one.
Yeah. So there's going to be a fence around this, I assume?
Yes, there will be 7-foot high chain link fence. Yeah, that's a requirement of the National Electric Code. The fence line, I know there's a lot of lines on here, so sometimes difficult to see, but this long line with the circles, this is the fence line. So the electrical equipment and the array itself will all be enclosed within that 7-foot tall fence. And per the fire department's request, there'll be a Knox box placed on the gate here so that they can get access to.
So your
But
only
why-
maintenance will be inside the fence, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Your only maintenance will be inside the fence.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some.
Like if some trees were outside the fence. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
the limit of work line, this is that everything we're doing is within that limit of work line. But yeah, for, ongoing maintenance, it's probably like a couple visits a year, for somebody to check on the electrical equipment, and there may be some maintenance required for the roadway outside the fence over time, but we're not expecting it to be anything significant.
Okay, I guess I was just wondering about if trees grow up outside the fence. Are they gonna be taken down at a certain height?
No, anything outside this limit of work line, which you can see is pretty close to the fence, none of that will be touched.
I'm wondering if you have any site photos or anything. I know Mitch had some from a site visit, but I didn't know if you had any that you wanted to share, or we could go to Mitch's photos.
If you want to go to Mitch's, unfortunately, mine are on my phone, so
Okay.
to transfer them over might take a few minutes. So
Yeah, I can pull mine up.
okay, thanks, Mitch.
So I think we started up in this BBW.
Hmm.
Right,
Came
so
up,
that's
through this path.
that is this one here. And Devin, please jump in if I misspeak about any of this. Devin did the actual delineation out here. So yeah, that is this wetland here behind these buildings. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, you still can't see my screen, I guess. Yeah, you can see one of the buildings in the background of that photo. And again there.
This is the equipment pad area up here.
Yep.
We walked up this way. We
So
went
that's-
down this path, just kind of looking on both sides, the array area.
So this is like within the array, where the array would be.
It is. It's basically right in the middle. That line that Mitch was showing is like a woods road that runs sort of right down the middle from the top of the hill down to the southwest.
Hmm.
These are all just the array area.
Hmm. Do you know the history of the site? Like, I mean, there are a lot of trees, but it looks like most of them aren't super old, I would guess.
Yeah, it's not super dense forest either. I mean, we were able to walk through it pretty easily.
Mhm.
But I don't really know. I
Mhm.
don't know if you know, Aaron, what the history is back there.
No, I don't.
Just curious.
This is down by the stream down here.
Hmm.
Just looking back up towards the path. And I think this is looking from the path down towards the BBW.
Yes, I think so.
There's some flagging down there. And then this is the detention basin down here.
Yeah, we got a chat saying, could you please indicate on the map where the photos were taken? So,
Are these more or less sort of in order down the
Yeah, these are
Woods
all
Road
the
in the center,
right. Just going, following the
north-
path, really.
north to south?
And I forget if we went down towards the stream.
This picture is angled down towards that stream right now. The stream is kind of right at the very bottom of the photo.
Thanks, Devin. And just to reiterate, that's an intermittent stream that's down kind of on the southeastern corner of the array, right?
You're correct. All of the streams we found on site came out as intermittent. They are either not shown on the USGS map or shown as intermittent, and then their stream stats, drainage areas suggested intermittent as well.
Then I think we came over this way, and this is just this access point by this other BVW.
that's up all the way up by the road.
Right. The start of this pathway.
Mhm.
And then this is just that BVW.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the one on the other side of Village Green.
I think that's all I got.
Okay, great.
Fletcher, do you know when you joined?
What time?
Probably about quarter of.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know how many, but how many panels are gonna be there?
I should know. I can try to dig that up. I don't know, Aaron, if you know off the top of your head. We've done this count several times. It's just not on this plan.
Yeah, somewhere around 3,400.
Thank you.
Okay. And did you say, are they gonna be in the ground or are they gonna be on like concrete slabs?
No, they'll be on posts that are either driven or screwed into the ground, and then the racking comes above that, and there's a tracking axis. I'm not sure if my hand gestures really help, but the panels will be on the tracker, so they'll start in the morning facing east, and then as the day progresses, they turn over and face west.
I just had a question about the stormwater management maintenance, or stormwater management facility maintenance. One of the things that our commission's been discussing lately, most recently actually, is about maintenance logs. You know, if a lot of fines, for example, accumulate at a toe of a slope, let's say like a stone lined swale, is there any sort of reporting requirements that will be accessible to the Conservation Commission upon request for how that's managed and how that's maintained? I think it's probably a blanket condition or a special condition, but I just wanted to bring that up to the applicant, that that may be something upon request later if it becomes an issue.
We do have an O&M plan in the stormwater report, and there are logs in there for like daily reports and inspection reports and things like that.
I'm just curious, what do you expect the useful lifetime of this facility to be?
Oh, Aaron, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, we model it for 35 years. Our lease, it has an initial term for 20 years, and that corresponds with the life of the SMART program, which is the incentive program that we'll participate in. It's pretty standard to assume that a solar project will continue to function for 35, potentially 40, 45 years.
So you have the land leased for 20.
It
And
has the
then
opportunity to
option
extend.
for-
Yeah.
Option to extend, but if you don't, then whose
We would
responsibility does
decommission.
it would just need to be decommissioned upon non-renewing the lease?
Yeah, the lease language is, I don't have it at the tip of my finger, but the option to extend is at our discretion up to 3 periods for 3 5-year periods. And so there aren't too many scenarios I can foresee where we wouldn't want to extend. Maybe if fusion becomes real, then and utility prices crash, then we wouldn't. But in all reality, the odds are we would extend it for as long as we could, and potentially further from when the lease is over after 35 years too.
But you said the 20 years corresponds with the SMART program.
Yeah, that's right. The SMART incentive program has a 20-year life. After that, we're making some estimates about what the future will be, but it's pretty complicated to model.
So I assume if SMART isn't as lucrative after the 20, that's a scenario where you would potentially decommission, or would it have to be more of a less of an economic and more of a functional, panel issue or something?
Yeah, the most likely scenario is that what the current plan is. Maybe I'll just say that because there's a lot of potential scenarios, but the current way we're expecting it to work is at the end of the SMART period, we would participate in the wholesale market just like any other power plant in the country, where we're feeding the grid with energy and getting compensated at the wholesale rate, which is about 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour right now. In 20 years, it's going to be much different, but our revenue would be largely just that plus any renewable energy credit revenue that might exist at that point in time. So we would the scenario where we decommission because that isn't sufficient, that isn't too likely. By that point in time, we would have paid off any loans that we had on the investment, and so it would just be recurring revenue from there on out.
Got it. And can you describe decommissioning itself? If in that event, does that include sort of a remediation of the site, or simply a removal of the equipment? How does that work?
Yeah, the normal process is removal of equipment and returning it to not the same case as it is today, but to allow it to go natural depending on what the landowner wants. There isn't a plan to do anything other than remove the equipment.
Okay, thank you.
So after 35 years, is it like definitely decommissioned, or would you maybe like replace panels and just keep going? Or
Yeah, after 35 years, the lease, there's some complicated things that would need to happen. We would need to renegotiate a lease if we wanted to extend it. The panels potentially might need to be replaced. The inverters and some of the equipment might need to be replaced, but there's no reason why we wouldn't want to keep it functioning if we could.
Aaron, will you just clarify for the record? So as you went through the planning board, I imagine you had to have a decommissioning plan approved by the town.
We have not gone through that. That's the next step. They asked us to go through this process first.
Okay.
As part of a standard planning board process, special permit, site plan review, usually a decommissioning plan and decommissioning bond would be a requirement of a permit that they issue, and that's standard with us, and we would negotiate that after those permits are complete.
Okay.
One question I had was I assume there's like a new power line going into the site to get this power out of the site. Is that just following right along the road? I don't remember seeing that on the plan.
I can show that to you. So the electric line would be, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. The electric line would be underground from the equipment pads
Uh-huh.
down until this first utility pole. And then from here, per the utility requirements, it goes overhead. And then the plan is to interconnect to this pole here next to Village Green.
Okay. And do you have a like along the road, is there like silt fencing or something planned during construction?
Yeah, there'll be different one here, but you can see there this the SF line here
Oh
is
yeah.
the fence line. So it essentially follows the limit of work. And then
Yeah.
down at the road, this is where we have the construction exit, which will consist of it's usually around 2 or 3 inch diameter stone on average. The idea being it's a bumpy enough surface to try to jar loose some of the sediment that can get stuck on the construction vehicle's tires to minimize tracking out onto the public roads.
Mhm. And one other question is, are you gonna need to have a spoil pile anywhere, either for the line or grading or anything? And if so, do you know where that would be?
There's really not, the only grading is associated with the swales, and I think the volume is probably small enough that we'd be able to just spread the soil that's removed from there on site. The import material will be for this road. It'll be like a dense graded crushed stone, so it'll be a gravel road, but it's compacted dense grade, like a road-based type material. So that'll be import, and that'll be one of the first things. So there's not really a plan to have a stockpile, just because there's not a significant amount of regrading of the site itself.
Mhm. Okay, great.
Rob, can you remind us what the total acreage is again of tree clearing and earthwork?
So it's the area inside the limit of work of the array is about 9.5 acres. And then I think it's these numbers coming off the top of my head, but I think it's about 2 acres more for the roadway and the pad area.
Okay, so you're gonna have a SWIP, you're gonna have a
Oh, yeah.
stormwater. Okay, so there
for
will
sure.
be some component of inspections during stormwater, storm events, regular compliance inspections, that kind of thing.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Travis, I don't know if that's like we don't normally require copies of that, do we? Except in special circumstances, if it's topographic or a lot of tree clearing, a lot of forest clearing. I don't know what our
Yeah,
standard is for that.
I don't think so. I mean, if they're gonna have one anyway, we can ask for a copy, I guess, but
That's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Um,
9 acres feels kind of small, but I mean, what's the elevation change here between the southwestern corner and that northeastern corner? I was just looking on Mass Mapper, but that's not super precise. Is it topographic? Is it very steep? When you start clearing trees, do you think that you might encounter some like soil migration issues?
So the first question, Kristen, it's about 80 feet in elevation change.
Okay.
It's fairly gradual. I mean, we've got the swales in place, and we've got the sediment trap in place during construction. If some of that were to mobilize, that it would be kept on site. You know, the idea is to obviously minimize it as much as possible, but the slopes aren't that steep. I mean, they're flat enough so that we can accommodate the tracking system without any site grading.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad to see that stone line swale. I think that will work really well for a construction measure. I don't know, Mitch, I don't want to volunteer you, but I wouldn't mind seeing copies of SWIP inspections. Up to the commission, but just saying.
I think what we've done recently is just said that asking that they be made available upon our request. And then if we wanted to see it, we could request it.
One other thing I just want to add, since we're talking about it, and erosion and sedimentation controls, we do have intermittent slope breaks proposed with straw wattles. So the idea here being that, as the site is disturbed and the work's going on with electrical trenching and foundation placement and all the other things, they'll have to be moved around a little bit if it gets in the way of construction, but this does provide some slope interruption. So any sediment that comes from the upper area would be caught in this, so it's not all going down into the basin here at the bottom.
And I don't know how we would word this, Travis, but any issue foreseen by the SWIP inspector kind of coming down the pike before it turns into soil migration into a jurisdictional resource area would be, I don't know. I don't know how you would word that. I don't know what our standard boilerplate is for that, but better to know before it's in jurisdiction than after. And if they're cutting trees, it's only 9 acres. That doesn't seem super significant to me, but it's kind of steep. I mean, there's almost 100-foot elevation grade on 9 acres. If they have slope breaks with silt fence and maybe straw wattles on the slope, they're obviously thinking about that. There's a stone lined construction swale. I don't know. Obviously, the applicants thought a lot about soil migration. So just any kind of heads up. I don't know how we would word that, but just 2 cents.
Oh, yeah. And I guess just to kind of clarify procedurally on this one, this was submitted as an RDA for the Wetlands Protection Act and an NOI for our local ordinance. So we'll have to either make a negative or positive determination for the Wetlands Protection Act and then decide whether or not to issue an order of conditions for our local ordinance. So just reminding everyone that that'll be a little different than the usual. We usually don't have ones that are an RDA for, we haven't had many that were RDA for Wetlands Protection Act and local NOI. There aren't any other immediate questions.
I actually have a question or two. I'm late to the party here, so maybe they've been answered, but I'm Steve Harris. 2 questions. One about the solar panels themselves. You guys, I've heard you mention that they're tracking panels. I don't know if the placement of this project would affect anyone, but is there any kind of solar glare you can get, particularly in the winter, if those are tracking and they're low? Do those kind of panels, is there any kind of glare associated with them potentially?
So a couple things that I can mention. The panels themselves are designed to absorb light just by the nature of them trying to create as much energy as possible. And the way that these track, since they're tracking the sun, any reflection or glare would actually be back at the direction of the sun, which would be up as opposed to like down in a direction of say the road or something else.
Okay, that makes sense. My other question is kind of somewhat different. Perhaps you've answered this one, but so with this 9 to 10 acres of panels out there, I'm a bit south west of it, but does it preclude certain types of development around this project in future years? Has that been discussed, or is that of import to your project?
I mean, from my experience, no. I mean, this is a project that's allowable through special permit through the zoning ordinance. So
Okay.
And it's I don't see how it would. We're not proposing to change the zone
Sure. Okay.
of the project, so I don't see how it would affect that.
Yeah, I just wonder if some person came along and said, I'm gonna have a tree farm to the southeast, to the southwest of it. I just wonder if, I mean,
Yeah,
really this kind of project has certain needs to kind of be functional, and just curious about that.
Steve, it is a good question. There are some limits. The good thing is that the landowner that we're working with, that we're leasing the land from, also owns the land directly south of here, the property line that you're looking at.
Gotcha.
He also owns that land to the south. There are limits on his ability to do things that impact the solar irradiance of the array. So he could not start a tree farm directly.
Yeah, okay,
next
that
to-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But
Thank you
that's
very much.
about it. That's really
Okay.
the only limit.
And Steve may have missed this in the beginning, but I'll just point out again that to the north and east is Greenfield Conservation land. So that land will remain forested as it is right now. And Steve, you actually read my mind. I was gonna open it up to any public comments. So if anyone else has any questions or comments, now would be the time.
Hi, this is Richard Roth. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I'm on Log Plain Road East, so it looks like from the map, I'd be on the most southern part of that perimeter line. My question is, I'm about 300 feet off the main road, and I got a kind of not a solid answer when I questioned it. Will this array be visible to the parcels along Log Plain Road East? It looks like I was told, I think what I was told was project will be about 1,000 feet back from my property line. So I'm at 319. I don't know if you have a map that's got numbers on it, but it would be that most southern end, I'm presuming. Just trying to figure out, when this is said and done, we're going to be looking at a chain link fence and see equipment, and if that is the case, maybe there's a solution with it, have these fencings with a interweave green material to kind of camouflage what's back there. But I don't know, 1,000 feet. I was going to try to do a walk tomorrow and see how far back I can get. It's particularly overgrown. I think most of the residents along Log Plain Road are concerned, will this impact them? And then the other question I have is, when these solar arrays shift with the sun, is it silent? I'm assuming there's motors and got to be some sort of, will it make noise? Will we be hearing this during the day as the sun moves? Will there be constant, a hum or a burr, something in the background?
I have thoughts on the first part, and Robbie probably can answer the sound question. Rob, could you put your mouse over the corner to on the left down a little bit? That corner, the property corner, yeah, right there. Mr. Roth lives due south of there, through the parcel that is below. There you go. Yeah. So where your mouse was, is the corner, the landowner, Mr. Keppel, also owns the parcel that's directly south and west of there. And you're on Log Plain Road, which is, like you said, about 1,000 feet, and it is currently forested, and we won't be touching any of that. So happy to discuss it with you. Our intention wouldn't be to cause any visual eyesore, but there's a significant amount of land between the back of your parcel and this array.
I'm pretty sure if you follow that black line straight down towards where it says Log Plain Road.
Yep.
If you bring your mouse just a little bit now down, just a hair to the right, bang, that's where I'm at.
Yep.
Not in the middle of the road, but that's basically where my house and there's lots of houses all along there. So my lower part of that project, will that be fenced in, or is that the fencing area, that black line?
This is the limit of disturbance line. I can go back to the,
What's the limit of disturbance? Okay.
yeah. But
No, the dark line on the image he was just showing was the property line,
right.
Oh, the
And-
property line.
and
Okay.
the corner of that property line is that point right there. You're 1,000 feet through the existing forest that we won't be impacting.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, the noise thing, the question on the noise.
Yeah.
The
So
arrays make noise when they move during the day?
So there's I would say some noise from the tracker and the motors associated with that, and then can be humming from some of the electrical equipment like the transformers. And we've recently for another project which is similar, single axis tracker, we did sound pressure calculations, and what we find is that even when you're, say, 100 feet from the property line, that the attenuation of the sound, once you get to the property line, it's the sound level should be basically the same as background, or not even noticeable based on a typical rural level of noise.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your answers.
Hey, while we're on this scale, can we talk about the natural heritage mapped potential vernal pool and where that is in relation to the limit of work?
Devin, are you still on?
I'm here. The potential vernal pool, if memory serves, is it's at the very bottom of the driving range, kind of south of where we walked. So if you have maybe a view of the property, yeah, it's way down at the bottom corner of the property. You can actually see a little blue blip in the middle of the black box. I believe that's it right there.
Okay.
So it's
So-
quite far away.
Nothing down there, no stormwater, no development that's outside of your kind of limit of work. That's just within the property, but outside your limit of work.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. If I could share my screen really quick, I was kind of putting together, I guess, Rob, if you stop sharing, if I could share mine. Could share mine.
Go stop share.
So I was just to kind of put all these things onto a map that is a little easier to see. I kind of drew in approximately the limit of work and where the panels would be up here. That's a rough sketch. And then here's 319 down here. So that's how far, that's that 1,000 feet that would be in between. And then Kristen, here's that potential vernal pool down there.
That's so helpful. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah. Are there any other
I think
questions?
I might have
Oh, go
missed it
ahead.
at the beginning, but the drainage is designed, what's the max event? Sorry, I don't know the terminology, but that it addresses? over
So,
like a 24-hour period or whatever?
yeah, the 100-year storm, we have to analyze and show no offsite flooding. So that's
Okay.
the most significant storm event that we look at.
Okay.
And are there any other questions from the public at this time? All right, I'm not hearing any, so hopefully everyone got their questions answered. Any other questions from the commissioners, either on procedure or for the applicants?
I have one more question,
Oh, go for it.
Travis, just a general, I think I saw when I came into the meeting, this is being recorded. We could get a copy of this if we wanted from someone.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
this is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. You
Oh,
can
great.
reach out to Mitch, the conservation agent, or if you're willing to wait probably around a week, GCTV will post it on their YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Just quick, I might have missed. You said there were a couple buildings on the property. Are they staying there? And does the landowner use them or?
They are staying. That's the plan.
Okay.
Can,
And do you know whether they're in use or are they just abandoned or?
I don't think he's currently using them, but his intention is to sell the property, and I think he envisions that the purchaser will use them and all the other buildings that are on the site.
And did I read that I think I read in the application that the improvements to the road would allow better access to those buildings as well. I think that's what it said.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
That was kind of what it's.
So keep thinking of any other questions if you have them, but I just wanted to say procedurally, I think first we should handle the Wetlands Protection Act and either motion for a negative determination or positive determination.
Hey, Travis, can you remind us what
Sure.
under the Wetlands Protection Act our options are if it were, say, a negative determination for no direct impact to resource areas, or I don't know, can you recall what all of our options are?
So negative determination box 1, area is not in an area subject to protection under the act or the buffer zone. Box 2 is negative determination that the work is within an area subject to protection, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. 3 is negative determination is within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to protection, therefore does not require a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions, and then we can add conditions there.
I feel like it's under the Wetlands Protection Act, not including the ordinance. I feel like that would be 3. A negative determination, box 3.
Yeah, if we want to add, yeah, we can add conditions to that if we want.
Have we discussed what those are yet, or should we wait till a motion?
We could motion first.
Okay, well, I'll motion to,
Sorry, should we close the hearing first?
Oh,
Should we-
yeah.
oh yeah, have we gone through all public comments? Sorry, I thought we did.
Yeah, I guess it's a little weird because it's both an RDA it's both an RDA and a hearing for the local ordinance. But yeah, I guess we could motion to close the public hearing for the local ordinance, and then we could, and then that probably makes sense first, and then motion for the negative determination.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 1245 Bernston Road. RDA application.
Oh,
Second.
sorry, I'll second that. Oh, sorry, Erica.
I think
for
Eric
the-
beat you
for
to
the-
it.
You did,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Lead reaction.
For the town NO, excuse me, for the town NOI, just
Yeah.
to be more specific.
All right. Well, I'll just do a quick roll call vote on closing the public hearing for the local ordinance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
All right, I'm also an aye. All right, so the public hearing for the local ordinance is closed. And then Kristen, I think you were going to make a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to issue a negative determination under the Wetlands Protection Act. Box 3. For 1245 Bernston Road. With special conditions that we haven't discussed yet.
I'll second it.
Okay, so motion for negative determination box 3 with conditions to be discussed, seconded, and discussion on that motion. I know you said you wanted a copy of the SWIP.
I was thinking more like, do we want to have copies of the inspection reports from whoever their third party SWIP inspector is? So if they do storm inspections or weekly inspections during construction, and there's like an erosion control issue or a blowout, then the agent would be up to speed on that. I don't mean to create extra work for Mitch though, so I didn't mean to
Okay.
volunteer that for him. I was just saying, like, is that something that we want to talk about?
Yeah,
It's only
So
9
you-
acres, but it is kind of steep. You know, obviously they're thinking about that with their construction design plans, so.
yeah. I guess when you brought it up originally, I thought you meant like forever going forward. I didn't know you meant during construction.
Yeah, just while the ground is unstable, you know, so
Yeah.
while they're clearing trees on this 100-foot elevation change slope over 9 acres. Soil could be unstable. Obviously, they're thinking about it. They have put some thought into their plans, so. Maybe that's not necessary. I again, don't mean to volunteer you, Mitch. I was just saying, like, do we want to have copies of inspection reports so that we can see something coming down the pike before it's an actual jurisdictional violation if there's soil migration into riverfront area under our ordinance, or I don't know, or do we want to set up some other different kind of correspondence? It's just a question for the commission.
I don't mind if that's what we want.
I'd definitely like to see it until the site's vegetated first.
That seems reasonable. I mean, if there are reports that they're doing anyway, just getting a copy
Just emails.
shouldn't be too hard. I don't think we really talked about any other conditions, really.
Well, we talked about that other thing that Mark Stinson was here to hammer home a couple of weeks ago about the stormwater facility maintenance logs. I mean, that is in the
Oh, yeah.
regulations, but we never really enforce it. It's a pet peeve of his, and so he was here to kind of just talk about that. I
Mhm.
don't know how big of an issue it is for us, but. just
I mean,
bringing it up.
that could be, yeah, I guess I did say, I think on the last one, we said, the maintenance logs, to be made available to the Conservation Commission upon request.
I think
I
that's
mean,
fair. Yeah,
I don't think we need every project going forward to be sending us maintenance logs every time there's maintenance.
I think it's
Yeah.
basically like if there is no maintenance and there obviously needs to be and nobody deals
Yeah.
with it,
I think that was
how
his
would we
concern.
enforce it?
Is
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times these things gets said and then the project's implemented and then things degrade and who knows?
Yeah,
So,
and I
and how,
think
and how would we know, until it's
Yeah.
a problem?
yeah, and I think that's something that is kind of on us also going forward, is maybe like every now and then reaching out and asking for maintenance logs just to make sure they're being done on not just this project, but other projects too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Just occasionally.
setting calendar items, attaching it, referencing the folder and stuff would be
Mm.
good.
And then do we want to request native species in our jurisdiction?
I couldn't tell by looking at that list if there was anything outside of our county's native species, but I think that would be a good requirement.
Maybe
I don't know
like,
if the, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say reference Dalcalena, or were you thinking a different citation for native species references?
I'm sorry.
What were you thinking? Or were you thinking of like a county checklist or anything for like a citation for native species?
As far as the source of whether
Yeah.
it is native or not to this count, I didn't have a specific, I mean, the checklist that we've used in the past sounds
Okay.
reasonable to me, but.
I guess one thing to clarify on this is you said in our resource areas, but for the Wetlands Protection Act, this is outside of any resource areas.
Oh, right. And we're
only
only
resource
talking about the
areas.
Wetlands Protection Act right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would only be for the 100-foot buffer zone.
This is only buffer zone. yeah.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
oh yeah, I was gonna say, and it's outside 25-foot no disturb zone, but that's also the ordinance. Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as jurisdiction or what we would like to ask for in the sense of native plants.
Oh, well, Kristen was saying any native for any plantings in a jurisdictional area, I think is what she said.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And there are no jurisdictional areas being disturbed for the Wetlands Protection Act, but technically there are jurisdictional areas, the riverfront area for the local ordinance.
Is that maybe the applicant already knows if there's species outside of that criteria, or would you be amenable to making it that way?
One point, sorry to interrupt before you speak, Rob, but the list of plantings that we were proposing was from a seed mix for that's called Fuzz and Buzz. It's intended to be a planting that will be good for forage animals, because part of our potential O&M grass management is sheep. But that was our presentation about what's inside the fence area, and within reason, I don't think we would have any objection to doing things that's in the Wetland Protection Act jurisdiction zone that you all wanted. That wasn't a huge project, if that makes sense. So outside the fence area, we have some latitude to do more plantings.
I think we're just talking about within your limit of work, but areas that would be jurisdiction to the city ordinance would be 200 feet from the intermittent stream. And we were thinking about just native seeds, which would be actually probably, I don't know about the cost, but more resilient and less maintenance, I'm assuming, because they're native. But I also am sympathetic to if you have to do like a temporary seed, say like winter rye, because you maybe did construction in November and you just need to put something down just to stabilize the ground. I don't think that we're talking about excluding that. I think it would just be like your permanent seed mix would need to be native if it were in our jurisdiction. Outside of our jurisdiction, you could do whatever you want, but
Could you share a list of or reference something and we can run it by our team.
We can send that checklist, right?
Yeah, I can send that to him.
Okay, so for conservation commissioners, we have two potential conditions. Get a copy of the slip reports during construction and maintenance logs, maintenance of stormwater structures, maintenance logs available upon request. If I'm not hearing any other comments, we can vote on the motion.
Again, I'm sorry. I know I've asked you this like 5 times and I can't remember the answer, but do we have anything in our boilerplate about if there's, if the erosion control barrier is constructed of silt fence and either a straw wattle or straw bale or whatever, that the applicant would be required to remove sediment if it is approximately halfway up to the top of that erosion control barrier?
I think last time we had to add that.
Okay,
It's not
that was just,
boilerplate. Yeah.
just because like at the toe of the slope, I'm just thinking maybe if there's a lot of soil migration during construction, we would want to have them be responsible to scoop out some of that accumulating soil so it doesn't overtop or blow out or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it should be boilerplate.
We do have that note in our plans.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I figured you would.
Try to be thorough.
Okay, so hearing no other discussion, we can vote on that motion for a negative determination for the Wetlands Protection Act, box 3, with the conditions as discussed. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
all right, and I am also an aye. So that motion passes. Issue a negative determination for the Wetlands Protection Act. Does anyone want to make a motion for our local ordinance? I think this would just be issuing an order of conditions or not. And then we could discuss.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions under our local bylaws for 1245 Bernardston Road solar project.
And I will second that.
Okay, a motion to issue an order of conditions. Any discussion on this one? I think we could have the same two conditions would be very easy to add on there. And then there's, I guess, the question of the native plantings and whether that would be required or not. I was trying to find, Rob, do you have a good map that shows where the 200-foot riverfront area? I'm looking through the maps and some of these are a little, it's hard to see.
I do. Hang on, I can pull this up. Oh, sorry, I gotta hit the share button.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So yeah, this is the area that shows the within the 100-foot BVW buffer and then the 200-foot intermittent stream buffer.
Mhm.
I guess I was just thinking from a constructability standpoint, and if we have a different seed mix for within these areas than the rest of the array, I just don't know how we get the contractor to really delineate those since they're sort
Yeah.
of odd
I was going to
shape.
suggest if you're gonna do it at all, it probably just makes sense to do it for the whole thing. So why don't we look at the species comparison with that in mind when you're getting back to us on that?
Well, I guess then my question is tonight, are we gonna include that as a condition or,
Hmm.
you know,
Is there somewhere on the website or somewhere that I could look at the list right now? So we,
Maybe we could,
Mitch, is that posted on our website got kind of, does anyone have a good
No,
link?
it's not on the website.
it's in the
I was
drive, right?
thinking the Dow Kalina list, the county checklist for Franklin County, but I didn't think it was this much area, and this kind of amorphous of a line. So,
Mhm.
you know, Rob's right. It is sort of a mix there. I don't know.
yeah, the fuzz and buzz does have native species. So I, you know, the intention, the resistance isn't to say no. It's more around what our goal really is to make sure that Japanese knotweed and bittersweet doesn't take over.
Mhm.
And then having the ability to farm with sheep or livestock, as opposed to mowing. And outside of that, we don't have a strong passion for you know, perennial blue flax. But if there was something that you would request, I just would like to see it.
I will say I don't love bird's foot trefoil or partridge pea for resource areas. That's like the kind of stuff we see on right of ways. But I honestly recognize the importance of site stability as priority. So I don't know if you have kind of like a twofold mission here of site stability and then long-term pollinator meadow or whatever your long-term goal is for the solar array.
No, there is no pollinator focus or anything like that. It really was an attempt to make sure the site is stable and growth happens so that sediment doesn't wash, as well as providing something for either mowing, which we wouldn't prefer, but if we have to, we will. But also this came from the farmer who we would partner with, who has sheep. They're from Northfield.
Oh, is this a dual use solar?
It is not. It wouldn't qualify as dual use because it's not elevated, but we
Okay.
do. The majority of our work is dual use, and this is one of the projects that dual use doesn't allow for tree cutting. So when we're presented with sites like this, we still try to keep the spirit as much as we can. So we want to maintain that ability to have the sheep grazing if possible.
But sheep aren't grazing on this particular property.
That's the intention. We haven't made that decision. It's just so far in the future.
Oh,
The
I
intention
see.
is for sheep to graze on this. It wouldn't qualify for the dual use adder.
I see, but that's your long-term goal.
Yeah.
Okay. That's different. That changes a lot. Because I was going to recommend that you, first of all, put the species name, the scientific name on this seating table. Because colloquial names can be a little bit up for interpretation.
Yeah.
But I also didn't know that your long-term goal, how long do you have to wait before you can be accepted into dual use?
This project couldn't ever participate in the dual use program.
Okay,
It's
so
it's
no,
basically, it's going to be dual use, but it's not gonna qualify as dual use, I think.
That's right. Yeah, it will, the goal is, and the DOER will not be regulating this, but our goal across all our projects, about 70% of our projects are dual use, the elevated racking. We're doing the projects in Northfield that are that hopefully will happen next year. But all of our projects, we hope to not have lawn mowers running, and instead to have sheep grazing for vegetative management. And the farmer that we're working with is also a Blue Wave employee, which complicates things, but he lives in Northfield and has several hundred head that he wants to manage the site.
Does that answer your question, Kristen?
I don't know. What do the rest of the commissioners think? We normally ask for species scientific names. Do we care? I think it's pretty cool that there's a potential for agricultural. I don't want to say dual use because it's not, that's not whatever, but you know what I
Well,
mean?
in a sense of the term, it is. Have you all ever grazed sheep on any of your installations to date?
Yes, we have one of the first genuine dual use projects that's in the eastern part of the state. A round of 5 projects that we have in construction right now, 4 of them are dual elevated racking dual use. One is a regular array, and we hope to have sheep grazing on that. We have recently changed our business plan though, so we don't have too many arrays that we own and manage yet. The projects that we're building now, we will own and manage. And I also just want to point out, we have the list of the fuzz and buzz scientific names, and we could provide that. The fuzz and buzz is the product that the farmer asked us to spec, and what's on the drawing is correct, but it is the common name of the species. We could give the scientific name.
Yeah, I mean, so I think Kristen brings up a good point. I don't have the knowledge to weigh sort of the utility of the species versus the native status, but like, for example, Potomac orchard grass seems to be non-native to North America, but it's, everywhere worldwide, or it's been introduced long ago and is everywhere. So I think for us as a commission, it's generally safe, given our perspective, to ask for locally native species, just generally. But if there's, again, a utilitarian reason that it's that could mess with the implementation of the project, then I think we'd talk about those other considerations. But I just don't know, in this, given that we're trying to deliberate right here, I don't know if, Kristen, if you want to take a shot at best guesses there, or I'm just putting it into GoBot.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the Mass Vascular Plant, the Dow Colina checklist for the county checklist. And so Lotus corniculatus, which is the bird's foot trefoil, is listed as invasive in every county in Massachusetts. So I don't know how good that is for agriculture. It may be great. I do see it on a lot of right-of-ways, but that's not something that I would normally want to see in a resource area that's under the city ordinance. But I think this is a really easily fixed issue. This isn't, I don't know. I don't know what your long-term goals are, but I imagine there probably is a solution that meets the commission's goals and also your long-term goals.
Question is, how do we, well, Travis, you were gonna.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I think, in the past, when we've gotten into the nitty-gritty with the seed mixes, we've asked for a seed mix. I think we've had a condition before where they provide a seed mix to be approved prior to prior to construction or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that would, I mean, I think, like you said, usually we do ask for all native species in resource areas. This one is a little, I don't know, I'm a little on the fence about this one because, it is like going to be in and among these solar panels, and most of the site is not resource area, and it's all going to be managed the same. But I wonder if we could word it in a way that doesn't necessarily that
Could we-
suggests native,
Could we
native
say
plants
just
when-
Just an approved
not,
list?
no, no
non-invasive.
species listed as invasive under the county checklist or something like that? Because I actually just looked up the partridge pea, and in Franklin County, that's listed as native. Not every county in Mass, but it is in Franklin. So I think some of the species on this list would be fine. It's just some of them aren't listed on the county checklist as native. So maybe we could say something like that. Does that make sense?
So what, can you say it again?
So like, no introduced species per the county checklist or something like that. Not necessarily native, but not an introduced species per the county checklist.
So what?
I think we'd have to cross out one of our boilerplate.
What does our
which-
boilerplate say?
Requires native for any planting. Only native non-invasive plant species may be planted on site within resource areas.
Yeah, within resource areas.
I still like that condition personally.
Well, if we were,
We were looking at this seed mix because that's what the farmer said would be good for his sheep to eat. Is that what it comes down to?
That's correct.
So maybe it's going back and asking him some other things that the sheep would eat.
Yeah, that is on. Can you reference the list that you were looking at or the website that you were looking at?
I can put this in the chat if
Oh, that'd be great.
Mitch, you don't have it handy.
And I think, I know you all probably know this, but there are items in those seed mixes that are intended to be helpful in establishing, helpful in fixing nitrogen, helpful, there's a whole bunch of things that are going on. So if there are things in there that don't work, then we can look for something else.
I think that would make a sound argument, and we just need to kind of see what that is.
So I'm wondering that the previous comment was that we could submit the seed mix for review prior to construction. One of the things I'm wondering is this Ernst Fuzzbuzz is it's a seed mix that they probably create in bulk. So if we need to go in and remove, like, I think Kristen, you mentioned like the bird's foot, which is, pretty minor. It's only 2%, but if they remove this, is this now a custom seed mix that might affect its availability?
Yeah.
My only thought from a constructability standpoint.
yeah, it seems possible.
The
I think-
website makes it sound great for what it's worth.
The website for the Fuzz and Buzz.
Yeah.
It does sound great, and this whole
Sounds
project
really
sounds
good.
great.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how to,
I guess we have to decide if we want to fully require native plants or not.
Yeah, and where, to reiterate, when we say native, like a lot of those are introduced, for example, but we're basically just referencing this list, Kristen. When we say native, I guess, but
What?
personally, if there was,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I was just going to say, if there was if there was a site stability consideration, or again, a grazing consideration, obviously the ultimate concern is non-invasive, and just not likely to kind of degrade in any way the local habitat. But so I personally wouldn't, I'd be open to talking about things that aren't strictly native by definition of the list, but it would just be, I'd want to hear sort of the reasoning and whatnot.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Fletcher, but I think that if this isn't in a permitted agricultural use and we're requiring other applicants to adhere to this standard and it's in our boilerplate, then why would we not
Well,
allow this applicant? Because
right.
these, because they want to do something.
I think because the majority of the area is not jurisdictional is why that they would apply it to the whole thing, even though it's not all jurisdictional, is the reason I would. But yeah, that's a judgment call, and I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's where I'm at.
It's tough because it's locally jurisdictional.
It includes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
well,
only,
even,
yeah.
well, the 200, the blue buffer you showed us, Rob, that was the local
That's just
riverfront, or
local.
no?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's still the majority, even with the local, the majority of the area is not, or at least maybe not the majority, but like a lot of it isn't
Yeah, it's
jurisdictional.
buffer zone only
Yeah.
under the state, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So this is all just like local bylaw stuff.
yeah. But I'm just saying, even under the local buffers, it's I think less than half jurisdictional. I can't remember the picture.
Yeah, I can reshare that.
Yeah, so it looks like a minority of the area there.
I know, and it doesn't make sense to put in two different seed mixes and stake
No.
that out. That's just, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound, that sounds crazy to me. I'm just saying.
It'd be logistics for sure.
It just
Right.
doesn't seem feasible. I don't know. It was just a question that I just wanted to throw out to the commission because that is something that we normally require. So I just wanted to get the commission's gauge on that.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going back and forth a lot. I think we should throw out our options here is to sort of just agree, like if the applicant just agrees that we can come to some consensus beforehand, given what the criteria we've laid out, then I suppose we could do the motion that Travis mentioned, or the condition that Travis mentioned, where seed mix is approved before construction. If not, I think we need to continue.
I think we can make a decision tonight. I mean, we can I think personally, as long as something's not specifically what is it on the checklist, non-native or invasive? How does it work? Hang on one second.
You linked that in the
There.
chat, Kristen? Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it's on there on the checklist as an I. So it's on the checklist as invasive if it's non-native. So I don't know. I'm personally okay if it's not an invasive species. I think I can be amenable to that.
But you said you found one in there, or?
Yeah, the bird's foot trefoil is invasive in Franklin County.
So it sounds like the applicant's concerned about the logistics, the budget of slight edits to the seed mix, if it is a mass produced one, is that, or even the
I don't
owners,
think it's a major issue to to, I don't think we can use the Buzz and Fuzz if that one is on there, but I don't think it's impossible to find specific seed mixes and
No.
order it if we have enough notice. So
Okay,
write the condition, and if we have a major problem, we can come back and ask for a revision.
all right, that sounds good.
So, I guess, as Mitch was saying, one of our boilerplate conditions already is for a native seed mix. So if that's what we want, I don't think we even have to add that as a condition. But we could request, you know, to approve the seed mix still.
Yeah, I think that's what we
I think
wanna
one
do.
time we asked for a copy of the seed mix was our condition, but that didn't give us any authority to approve or deny it. Like they just had to send it to us and then they were done. But
Wait, didn't you say that our boilerplate said only native species? Do we want to adjust that so that it,
Just
the
for this
language was more
project.
forgiving?
okay, I guess I'm getting confused because I thought we were leaning towards
Sorry.
saying that it did have to be native and that they would find a different seed mix. And then if that didn't work out, they could come back to us and ask to adjust that because it wasn't working for them.
I thought Kristen was saying as long as it wasn't listed as invasive in Franklin County. So it may not be actually native, but not invasive.
That's what I was saying, but I mean, whatever, I was just throwing ideas out for the commission to discuss. I mean,
I think,
So
yeah, go ahead, Travis.
I think the condition should be that it's native plantings because they're going to have to find another seed mix anyway. So they might as well look for one with native plants. And then as they said, if for some reason that would not work for their project, they could come back and request an amended order of conditions or whatever. I think we should start out though with the native since we have that already and they're going to have to get a different seed mix already anyway.
I think that's a good scoping because it goes from most specific to less. So that works for me.
I will just ask that, can we have the scientific names on the seed list? Because that is, the common names can be really subjective. That would be my one preference, but the scientific names.
Can add that.
Okay,
Thank you.
so the three conditions I have right now are the same two as under the Wetlands Protection Act. Plus, in our boilerplate, we already have it should be native seed, native seeds used, but we can add a condition for the applicant to submit the seed list with scientific names for approval prior to construction.
Sounds right.
Okay. That was very complicated, but we ended up back where we started. Okay, any other conditions or anything before we vote on issuing an order of conditions?
I'm sorry, just to be sure I understand, I don't want to
Sure.
belabor it, but could you read that back just to make sure that I get it?
Yeah, so what I was saying was one of our conditions already is that native seed mixes native seed mixes would be used. That's a boilerplate condition already in our conditions. And then I was saying we can have a condition that you would send us the seed list with the scientific names for our approval prior to construction. Does that make sense?
Even if it's all native, just as a double check.
Yeah, just so we can see it and know.
confirm.
That way we're not just approving something and we don't even know what seeds we're approving.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you could just shoot us an email. You don't have to come to a meeting or anything. You can just shoot us an
Either
email.
way, yeah. That's reasonable. Thank you.
Okay.
Right
Okay.
up.
Sorry, Fletcher.
I was gonna make a motion.
Oh, we
or
actually
is
already
it-
made a
okay,
motion. We
yeah.
just need to vote. Okay,
Oh,
so,
that's right.
so we'll do a roll call vote on issuing an order of conditions under the Greenfield Wetlands Ordinance with those 3 conditions as discussed.
Wait, Travis, before you
Sure.
actually take a roll, Richard Roth asked a question in the chat about this
Oh.
application.
Okay, so a question for the applicant. How many sheep are being discussed for this area?
I don't know.
Okay,
I can have that for you during the special permit hearing. I'll be sure to have that. But again, it is the goal. We don't have the farmer, signed up for it at this point.
is that, that's a planning board meeting, is that right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, Richard, check out the planning board meeting when they're there. All right, so back to voting on the motion. Roll call vote, Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye. So we have done a negative determination for Wetlands Protection Act and now issued an order of conditions under our local ordinance with the conditions we discussed. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for sitting through our long discussion about seed mixes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Get back to our agenda here. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have Connecticut River Conservancy Green River Restoration Outreach Project. Do we have someone here to talk about that?
I am.
All right.
Hi.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
Seed mix discussion, always fascinating, because I work on dam removal projects and that does come up a lot. So thank you. Yes, my name is Rebecca Budd. I am the Restoration Project Manager for Connecticut River Conservancy. I'm sure you must be familiar since our home office is in your town, but right now I am working, we got a grant. We're partnering with the Orion Society, which is another nonprofit that is involved in conservation of rare reptiles and amphibians. And in last year, actually 2021, we got a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to do outreach to landowners in Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire to work on river restoration projects. So what we're trying to do, we created a mailing last year, mailed it to all the people that had parcels along rivers that we had found to be our priority areas, and followed up with everybody who responded. Then, mailings, they don't get a ton of response. You get the really enthusiastic people who want to do something, environmentally sound. And now we have selected some more targeted landowners that we would like to, call, contact some way. And I've been calling people if there's a workable number, but the white pages aren't always accurate. Sometimes it's not even a family member, it's someone totally wrong. So we thought a good approach would be to engage with other local groups that might know the landowners through other, through their experiences with the Conservation Commission or a land trust or another. Oh my gosh. Can you still hear and see me?
Yep, I can hear and see
Okay.
you.
Because my computer is tricky. I can't see you all, so you're going to have to talk.
Okay.
It just goes blank. And the only way that I can get back is to leave. And I don't want to take the time. So
Yeah.
I'll just pretend I can see you and speak up if you need to. I can't
Okay.
see anything at all. It's totally black. So anyway, what we have a very, I think we mailed to like over 450 landowners in the 3 states. And now we've pared it down to say like 20 to 50 within each state that we would like to reach if we could. So what we've been doing is with some conservation commissions in different towns, we've been asking if they would be interested or willing to look at the list and then let us know if there's anybody who, and then you might be able to provide an introduction. We're not asking for like you to sell this project, but just a local contact to say, hey, you might be interested in this. You could reach Rebecca at this number or something like that. Some way to provide some kind of introduction. I don't know if anyone has time to do that or is interested in doing that, but that has been actually quite helpful because folks in some other towns, the Conservation Commission said, oh, you should definitely talk to so-and-so. They really like to work on that type of project. And lo and behold, they're very interested. And for whatever reason, the mailing was just, overlooked or, they were too busy at the time to call back, but now they aren't. So that kind of thing. So that's our project. And basically it's pretty much targeting larger parcels of land with hay fields or fields that are abut the river that could really use a buffer. That's kind of where excuse me, what our biggest interest is. So, do you have any questions about it at all? I'm kind of rushing through because it's getting late.
So I'm kind of really interested in reptiles and amphibians, I have to admit, as a herpetologist. I'm just curious, is this something that's like, like rare species focused, turtle focused, MESA protected species? Like I know I don't want to get too down a rabbit hole, but I'm just curious.
No, it is absolutely turtle focused.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And, because the state biologists didn't want us to highlight that for fear of encouraging poaching, we really just made it kind of a generic restoration brochure in hopes that people would be interested, even though turtles are so compelling that we would probably have a better response, but they just didn't want someone to be able to track where we were looking.
So are you really looking at like agricultural areas where there could be mowing accidents?
Yes.
Okay, so you're looking at wood turtles and box turtles.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Focus. Yes.
Nope.
Okay, well that's
I
helpful
figure
for us.
you all are trustworthy, and you also manage property in your town, and you know what's what. So
I hope I
can
didn't
tell you.
blow up your spot, but I think that's useful for Mitch to kind of narrow down his focus if he's looking at like 61A or chapter 61 landowners within riparian areas, for example, for wood turtles.
Well, it sounds like they already have a list of properties they're interested in.
You don't have to do any work in figuring out who. We have lists of landowners, as long as they're current. I used Mass GIS parcel data to figure out who owns what parcel. So as long as those are up to date, we do have a list already.
And
But
Rebecca,
that said, I will just say that if you knew of a willing landowner that wasn't on the list that would really be excited by this project, we wouldn't say no. Let's just say that.
I can think of people who might know someone like that. I personally don't. Just the first property that comes to mind is the Just Roots behind there, where the power line work goes on. But I'm sure you've been in contact with them, or I don't even know if that qualifies. I guess there's a bit of a buffer there, but it's a mess. So
I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Oh, that's the wrong.
We were looking at more like the individual private landowners and farms, but I don't know about Just Roots. That might be it's worth looking at. But
I'm sorry, is this exclusively Connecticut River, or is it all rivers in this general area?
No,
I think I missed the beginning of
No, it's not the Connecticut River, that's too big.
Got it.
It's tributaries to the Connecticut, and specifically the landowners in Greenfield along the Green
Got
River
it.
is where we were basically.
Yeah,
focusing
Just
our
Roots is
efforts.
right on the Green River, so that
Yeah,
would be a
lots of
good-
farmland right there. and,
Yeah,
Okay.
And I'm sorry, the restoration, would it include like invasive management and sort of restoration in that sense, or is it more of, know.
Yeah, the invasive management can be part of it. I back up a little bit.
Mhm.
The main purpose of this was to eventually develop projects that could be funded by NRCS. So
I see, okay.
private landowners that could enroll in the programs that they have, like and then they would, so ours is like the project introduction and
Fund,
development,
yeah.
and then we hand it off to NRCS to.
So the
to follow
interventions
up.
aren't really okay, gotcha.
So if invasive management is something that, it's definitely something that would be considered for sure. There's, but it's so unique and individual to what the landowner needs and wants, and what works well for both the landowner and our project. So,
Yeah, no, sorry, I understand the Conservancy's role in the phase
Mhm.
where it is now. I
Mhm.
misunderstood at first. Yeah, I would just definitely reach out to Nancy Hazard, and there's a person who was described by Nancy or someone else at a specific site visit along the Green River as the protector of the Green River or something to that effect, who's been in town a really long time. I believe, I can't remember whether he owns property right on the river or right near it, but he's apparently sort of been doing his own observations for a long time. So I can make an attempt to get that person's name to you, but I would definitely recommend talking to Nancy Hazard as a person. And yeah, there's a couple names I'll definitely pass your way.
Okay, I did actually speak to Nancy, and she graciously took me on a little bit of a trail walk along the swimming area, because that she has plans and hopes and dreams to make that beautiful path there. So I have spoken to her.
Got it.
But yeah, I would say we could definitely take a look at the list and
It's short, it's not a ton of parcels.
Yeah.
In fact, there's like the properties that are on either side of the swimming area. There's a few up north, further upstream, you can check it out and see.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't someone, it may be someone who knows someone, like you said, so that would be very helpful to us. It's great to have like an advocate that isn't, government agency.
yeah.
Or even a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel, and I
Great.
can send you, if you want to see the brochure we sent out. I can't remember if I sent it to Mitch or not, or if you forwarded it to anybody. The brochure that we created to send to everybody, if you want to see it. Again, nodding, I can't see a thing. Screen black.
Yeah, I was gonna look to see if he put it on if that was something we have like a shared Google Drive.
No, I don't think I ever got it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as I said, it's in 3 states. I've been meeting with a lot of folks, and I might not have sent it along as I probably said I would. Okay, well, that's it for me. I
Cool.
really appreciate your time. You guys are so busy. Oh, my goodness.
We are.
Yeah,
And
feel
it-
free to send me the list and the brochure or whatever else.
Okay, and whoever was that?
That was
again,
Mitch.
Mitch, thank you. Okay, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it. I will follow up with that. And again, if you have any questions or want to know more about it, or hear about our progress, let me know. I'll
Okay.
have my contact information in that email too. So
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
thank you
much,
so
Rebecca.
much. All right.
Awesome.
Take care. Take care. Have a good night. I'm gonna sign off since I can't see anything anyway.
Okay.
Take care.
Good night.
Okay, next on our list is enforcement updates.
Nope.
No, and then list of active orders of conditions, anything there?
No, there's something, I guess, other business or correspondence we could
Okay.
go over.
Sure.
It's just like a notification of herbicide application by Pan Am.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Did someone say something?
Yeah, I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
that was me. I'm trying to shut my window and I dropped the roller thing
Oh.
and made a loud
Oh.
noise. I'm sorry.
We didn't hear it.
Until I
Didn't even
said
hear-
something. Sorry.
But last year we got the same letter and we concluded it was exempt. But I guess I'm not
Hmm.
totally sure why it's exempt. I mean, it's a right of way,
So
but
yeah, I was just gonna say the 333 thing means they have a vegetation maintenance plan, so. Or an operation and maintenance plan. Forget if it's BMP or OMP, but. They have some sort of approved plan for a right of way.
right, I just don't see how it falls under one of these. Maybe I'm missing something.
They need to be a licensed applicator. And there might be additional restrictions in jurisdictional areas, or if there's a rare plant, I don't know.
I was gonna say, does this fall under that 2021 RDA?
So I think the RDA is they confirm the boundaries of the wetland
Hmm.
routinely,
Mhm.
and then just let us know that the herbicide is happening,
Hmm.
but that it's exempt.
Mhm. I do remember it being exempt.
Yeah.
Mitch, so you're looking at like number 3, for example, and not seeing,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you could, you could kind of stretch it that it's a service to the public, whereas since it's a train.
Right,
is
but
it
it's
providing,
and
is it providing water or gas or in those cars? I mean,
yeah, that's a good question.
well,
That's
is it
what
though?
they're
Because
thinking.
even if it is, I don't think that's unless it's doing that a lot, I don't really feel like that's the spirit of the number 3 there, but.
There was, are we looking at the same thing? A 1, 2, 3. I thought it was under B, 6B. It shall, in the buffer zone, shall be presumed not to alter an area only if the work is performed in accordance with such plans as are required by the Department of Food and Agriculture pursuant to 333 rights of way management effective January 10th, 1987. That shall apply only if they're proposing, if they've requested and obtained a determination of the boundaries of the buffer zone and area subject to protection. I think that's where it applies because they did do that.
Yeah.
They got that determination, and I think therefore it shall be presumed not to alter because they have that plan pursuant to 333 CMR 11.
Mhm.
So I think that's what makes it exempt.
Right. I think I was seeing that it was 6A, but saying other than that.
Mm,
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Good call out though.
Yeah. So that was the last. I guess so. Then the only other thing, things, you know, not within the 48 hours. I don't know. That wording wasn't on our agenda right now.
Oh.
But anything, you know, I was just going to say that we currently do not have a vice chair because Rachel, I don't know if anyone else got a copy of her second email. She sent an email to the mayor, but she was resigning as of today. So we should probably vote on a new vice chair.
Any volunteers?
I'm
for
the
such a position?
newest. I don't know. I
You're the
feel like I'm
newest
still
for now.
learning.
You're the newest for now
You're
until
so up to speed though.
Yeah,
I'm really not.
yeah.
I mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, I keep getting voted pro tem, so I guess I'm not that far away from vice chair, but Kristen or Eric, I would not step in your way if you were gunning for that.
Well, I definitely don't want to do it, so.
That's clear.
So,
I would only do it if we had no other choice. So if you're at all interested, Fletcher,
Yeah, no, I'm happy to
I
Happy to
support
step into that role.
100%.
so I think we
right.
should nominate someone and then vote on it.
So we have to nominate Fletcher.
He could nominate himself.
Okay.
I'll nominate myself.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. I'm not sure if that needs a second, but
Okay.
yeah, maybe it
I
does.
support that.
We do elections, so infrequently. I always forget how it works, but all right, so we'll vote on Fletcher as vice chair going forward. Well, this would be until our reorganization in, I said July, beginning of the fiscal year. All right, so we'll vote on Fletcher to be the next vice chair. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
All right, I am also an aye.
So what did you mean that we had to wait until June or July?
Oh,
next-
that's
We revote or we reconsider positions at that point, right?
yeah, at the beginning of the fiscal year, we always vote on chair and vice chair again.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
this would be until then.
but
And then
we,
he could do it again if he wanted to.
okay, but currently we have a vacancy and
And that person could get appointed anytime by the mayor.
okay.
And so we also have a vacancy on the Community Preservation Committee. So I'm going through that in that body as well. And we can recommend someone. We can vote like on a person and say dear Mayor Weeda Gardner, the Conservation Commission recommends this person to be nominated. I don't have anyone in mind, but I guess reach out to anyone in Greenfield who might be interested.
I wonder if Rachel has any, I think she said she's going to pass the word around, but I wonder if she has
Yeah.
any names in mind.
Yeah.
I know someone I would nominate, but I know their schedule probably won't accommodate it at this point. But definitely think about that one because it's nice having 5 members.
Yeah. And it related to that. I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to Europe for 3 weeks.
Nice.
And I'm going to miss our next 2
Nice.
meetings. So the 3 of you have to be at those 2 meetings, or you'll need to reschedule them because.
Do we have any sense yet of what those meetings are like, Mitch or Travis?
I don't know.
As far as, okay. I don't know if there's any
I don't know if Mitch does.
projects ahead of time.
No, just the Coleraine project.
Mhm.
I think that's about it that's come in.
Did that what happened with that tonight? Did it get
Just continued.
continued?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he was working on it and he'll come back at the next meeting.
Okay,
That's basically it.
got it.
Do we know, maybe I can't, I'm maybe not supposed to ask this, but that other letter that we got about from the Board of Health, do we know how that's related to his project or?
I'm not sure.
Maybe-
I might follow up on that and
Okay.
try and figure that out, but I don't know. I don't want to.
Okay.
It didn't have
I'm
anything to do
also
with our
gonna be
meeting
away,
tonight.
But I was going to, huh? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying it didn't appear to have anything to do with our meeting tonight. So,
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be away, but I was planning to Zoom them, so, I mean. I will be hopefully in a place that can do that, so.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess we'll just notify Mitch if anything comes up for the three of us, and otherwise,
Yeah, as the summer season, as the field season kicks in, it can get tricky to be available by 6:30, especially traveling from faraway field sites. Like,
Mm.
you know, today I got home at 5:45. Doable, showed up with wet hair. But sometimes I get home at like 6:30, 6:35, 6:45. Might be a little bit late. So we'll just have to kind of keep everybody up to speed on what our
Yeah.
schedules are. When are you leaving exactly, Travis?
The
April, May?
20th, I'm leaving on the 21st and I'll be back May 12th. April 21st to May 12th. Is when I'll be
Good for
gone.
you. Good for you. That's awesome.
It's gonna be the
Where are you
longest
going?
vacation I've ever taken.
That's fantastic.
France, Belgium, and Germany.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Sounds
wow,
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's all I had. And then I guess we'll be in touch about a potential hike or something to hang out with Rachel.
Yeah, as I said in that email, so I go to Griswold now. By the way, thank you, Commission, for introducing me to Griswold. I had
Hmm.
lived here for 17 years and never knew about it until you told me about it. And now I go there every weekend and it's
Wow.
great. But there are a couple of issues that just occurred over the winter, like the nest box fell down. There's a big eastern white pine that fell across one of the wetland crossings. A couple other little minor things, but those are the two biggest ones. So
do you ever have a
Well-
GPS with you or your phone turned on? You know,
yeah,
Little
I know. I
point-
only
little
go there
point,
like
little
twice
note.
a week.
I would say Fletcher can add that to our next agenda if you want to talk about it.
I heard wood frogs calling, but I only heard them calling once, and it was 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard them since. So I think it might have just been like a couple rogue males or something like that. It might not be viable. I want to go check it out, but I don't want my dog to
I'm-
go through it.
I saw a wood frog there a couple years ago, so.
Really?
nice.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there might
yeah.
be a vernal pool out there. Thank you, Erica.
Like, it was down by that first section when you first kind of like that wetland there.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
if you take the trail's like a lollipop, right? There's the stick part and then the loop part, right? And if you go counterclockwise around the loop, there's a shortcut on the left and it's right at that first junction. I don't know if that's what you were thinking, but it's right on the right.
No, I do know that one too. I heard wood frogs there. But the one I saw was if you go not on the trail, if you go straight out of the parking lot, right down the back,
Yep.
there's another wetland down. That was where I saw the wood frog. But I
All
heard
right.
them up in the other place.
Okay.
So
This is very useful. So all right. I'll have to
That sound,
take
Mitch,
some
could you
pictures.
add Griswold stewardship to other items next meeting?
Sure.
And Mitch, I don't know if you could I mean, just because you work with Eric, I was gonna see if maybe you could ask Eric about the letter we got about from like the health director and see if I don't know, see if there was like a miscommunication or something or
Sure. I haven't looked at that yet,
okay,
but
well,
I was going to dig into it tomorrow.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and if you need me to, I don't know,
Okay.
look into anything, let me know.
So what happened?
Oh, it was just there was a letter that said that at our meeting tonight, there was going to be a discussion about an animal sanctuary and that it wasn't on our agenda. And I don't know. It seemed like maybe there was some miscommunications going on about what was going to be at our meeting, I think.
Was that maybe for planning board?
Seemed more applicable, but to them, but
I looked at other meetings tonight and there wasn't anything on any other boards' agendas.
but I think as far as that project goes, that's the phase their concerns would come up in. You know what I mean, as opposed to ours. Our deliberation on the project. Anyway, it was
Yeah.
hard to understand.
All
Yeah,
right. Anyone want a motion to adjourn?
Love to motion to adjourn.
We'll second it.
second.
All right. Roll call vote on adjourning. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Bye.
All right. I'm also an aye. So we are adjourned at 8:41 p.m.